Hello, I'm Martin Lewis from MoneySavingExpert.com. The Chancellor Kwasi Kwarteng has recently just sat down in Parliament after delivering a mini budget. I want to give you an instant explainer of the main consumer finance elements of that. I'll leave the economics to others. I'm not going to talk about energy bills because we knew all that before and I did a full show last night on it, so you can watch that back on the ITV Hub. I'm going to focus on the main new announcements: stamp duty, national insurance and income tax. Let's start with stamp duty, the most immediate change because it's happened. The new thresholds that he's just announced are now in place. So, until today, you did not pay stamp duty on the first £125,000 of a property. Now, it's on the first £250,000. The rate from £125,000 to £250,000 was 2%. Now, of course, anyone buying a house under 250 grand now doesn't pay any stamp duty. But even if you're buying a house above 250 grand, because we've got rid of 2% stamp duty on 125,000, that means you will pay £2,500 less than you would have done yesterday. The point of that crystallises you paying stamp duty in most cases, ask your solicitor, but in most cases is completion. So if you have exchanged but not completed, when you complete, if you've got a house above 250,000, you get the full gain. So that's a £2,500 gain for you, or reduction in stamp duty for you. Just to give you the other thresholds, they remain the same. On the amount of your property worth over 250,000 and under 925,000, you pay 5% stamp duty. Over 925,000 up to 1.5 million, you pay 10% stamp duty. And above 1.5 million, you pay 12% stamp duty. Just to make sure you understand how it works, let's take a property that costs £300,000. You pay no stamp duty on the first 250,000, and you pay 5% stamp duty from 250,000 to 300,000. 5% of that 50 grand difference is £2,500 grand. So from today, you would pay £2,500 grand on a £300,000 property. Yesterday, you would have paid £5 grand on a £300,000 property. There's also a change for first-time buyers. As long as you're buying a property now under £625,000, yesterday it was under £500,000, you get no stamp duty on the first £425,000 of the property. Yesterday it was up to £300,000. So there's a bigger no stamp duty area for first-time buyers. Now, next, let's move to national insurance. From next April, the rise we saw last April in national insurance of 1.25 percentage point has been cancelled from the 6th of November. Now, you only pay national insurance on earnings above £12,570, so only people who earn more than that will gain. And 1.25% actually works out for someone who's earning 15 grand, it is an annual tax reduction take-home pay of £30. For someone on 30,000, it's an annual take-home pay reduction of £220. And for someone on 75,000, it's an annual take-home pay reduction of £780. We have updated the national insurance, the income tax calculator on Money Saving Expert, so you can work out exactly how this will affect you. Now, what is interesting about this, just as an aside, is there were actually two changes to national insurance in the last year. In April, we saw the rate go up by 1.25 percentage points for everyone. And in July, to cover that and make it easier for those who were lower earners, we saw the threshold at which you start paying national insurance rise from just under 10 grand to £12,570. And what that actually meant is it balanced out the increased rate for people earning under around £35,000. Now, what's happening now is they're reversing the national insurance rise, but they're not reversing the threshold change. So actually, national insurance isn't just cheaper than it was before they put the rate up. For many people, it's cheaper than it was even a year ago. And that will all be put in the national insurance calculator. Then the two big rabbit out of the hat announcements. From April next year, the basic rate of income tax will drop to 19% from the current 20%. Again, the threshold you start paying that is above £12,570 right now. Will they change it in the budget for next year? We'll have to wait and see. So that means everybody earning above £12,570 will have more take-home pay. The amounts are roughly similar, slightly less than I just gave you for national insurance because it's 1%. That was 1.25%, and the thresholds are similar. So I'll leave it at that, although on earnings above 50,000 roughly, you don't get any more gain. So the gain is really on the income between 12,570 and 50,270, but it's a 1% cut. And obviously the numbers on that, we'll put them into our income tax calculator once we get the full details, but that isn't coming into effect until next April. Also from April next year, probably the one that will be more controversial is the top rate of income tax will be abolished. So for me to explain this, I'm just going to run through the current rates at the current threshold and tell you what's changing, although I don't know if the thresholds will change, and it is slightly different in Scotland. So currently, you don't pay any tax on earnings under £12,570. From earnings above £12,570 up to £50,270, you pay currently 20% tax. From next April, it will be 19% tax, income tax. For earnings above £50,270, the higher rate tax threshold is 40%, so you pay 40% on earnings above that amount. And currently, on earnings above £150,000, you pay 45%, the top rate of tax. Well, that is being abolished, so from next April, earnings above £150,000 will still be taxed at 40%, which means someone at 60 grand will be paying the same rate, marginal rate of income tax as a mega high earner in the city. That, of course, will be, I suspect, a cause of much debate. Overall, the government is reducing the tax burden significantly with all these changes put into place. It is also spending a lot of money on the energy reduction. All of this will put money in people's pockets, which taken in isolation is, of course, a good thing. The question is the level of public spending that will be able to continue in future, and there is a big increase in government borrowing. So if the gamble is right, and I always hope that what the government does helps everybody, the gamble is right, that low taxes will grow the economy and everybody will get the money back in the return, then this is a good thing. And if the gamble is wrong, that we won't see the growth that is needed to pay for all this, then that is a worry going forward. But I'm going to try and avoid the politics and leave you to decide for yourself whether you think overall it's a good or a bad idea. I hope at least I've managed to explain what's happening.